in this episode.
That was one of those things. It's almost like a balloon popping.
Yeah.
And a little bit, one of the many balloons he's got on, like a bunch of grapes or one of those weird fetish films.
Welcome. You're listening to PaleoCheeze Podcast, Episode 13, Part 2, The Pretender, with guest Armand Rosamilia.
Let's get to this so we can let Armand go play with his Funkos.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting for. I was waiting for the mail to come because I got more Funko Pops.
I own, I think, 4 of them. I have. I'm really selective. I own Special Agent Dale Cooper from Twin Peaks, and I own Jack Torrance, just the regular Jack Torrance from The Shining. Carrie, Bloody Carrie, and then Jason. I want to get Michael Myers because he's my favorite slasher. But
I have 4 of the MLB third series. That's what I'm waiting for. I have I have a baseball room. It's the entire room is baseball, is Red Sox and old school like Topps, wrappers. I was born in 1969, so I collect 1969 baseball, and I also collect Red Sox cards.
Wow.
So I have all my baseball cards and my comic books and everything in that room. But I have we have signed bats, and we have tons and tons of jumbo shrimp stuff. So like the whole room is baseball. And then my daughter's room is also my wife's Wonder Woman room. It's all like Linda Carter Wonder Woman. So the whole room is decked out. And then she has a Disney room. And then my office is all Marvel comics and zombies and Conan the Barbarian and all my books and everything behind me.
See, we're gonna talk, man, me and you, because we're gonna chat. Because I'm also a comic guy, man. I probably not nearly as many as you've got, but I love comics. It got me into drawing. Talked to Lansdale about it, when he was on, about different artists that I like and stuff like that. And so that's blowing my mind, buddy. And blowing my mind, dude, is this movie.
It's called The Pretender, and it's directed by Jim Toscano and stars Mike Kunda. And it basically is just a very short documentary, like 55 minutes long, about a guy who has an obsession with not only just mostly the film Rocky, but also Sylvester Stallone, because he would dip into any Stallone movie that would come out, Rambo or whatever, buy the costume and stuff. So yeah, it's just kind of his story on how that started, as told by him, his wife, his parents, and his brother. Just his journey through, how it started, and with the Rocky obsession. And
this movie, it took me totally by surprise. I was not anticipating this, because we give guests the option. Anytime we have a guest on, we say, provide us with 3 movies, and then we pick one of those 3 movies to watch. And so you sent these 3, and I forget what the other 2 were.
Yeah, Red Dog was about Luke Dick, who actually has written a lot of big country songs, but his mom was a stripper in this strip joint, and so growing up with this crazy, dad's in and out, and his mother who's still alive interviewing his mom, and it was just like a really totally different story. And then the other one was Finding Sugar Man, about a Detroit musician who put this one album out and then really never recorded again. But in Australia, I think the weirdest thing, it became this huge, like, social thing, and everybody had this album, and everybody listened generations, and he had no idea, and it had been bootlegged so many times. So he made no money off of this, but everybody knew his music, and they thought he had died. That was always the rumor before the internet and everything, and they just assumed that he had died. So when he came back, it was pretty, that was pretty cool. Like, he ended up, I guess, touring out there too.
There's a documentary called A Band Called Death.
Oh, yeah.
It reminds me of that. Detroit band had recorded a record, stuck it in the attic. Nobody knew it existed, and they stumbled across it. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, they got these black guys playing punk rock that was...
Years before you even knew what punk rock was, yeah. I love those documentaries, and I watch them I mean, it's the same with The Pretender. I was like, seriously, some guy is really into Rocky. Like, this is going to be funny. And then when you watch it, you're like, this is a great movie.
So Jeremiah, you seem to have really enjoyed it. So when you turn it on and you're watching those first like 10 minutes of the documentary, and you're just like, oh no, what is this garbage? Or you're like, oh yeah, I'm digging this.
It wasn't like, what is this garbage, as in, because there are some movies that you watch, like Were Rooster, and not to pile on Were Rooster again. We've already made clear we're not trying to be mean about that. But the first 10 minutes of Were Rooster, you are lamenting the fact that you even started it. Yeah. But this movie was not that way. It was, I knew it was going to be crazy because this guy is for real about this. Like, this is not a joke to this guy, and not just to the guy, but like the dad, right? Like the dad is kind of in on it. And I liked the tension because, there's a site. I don't know if it's called the Body Language Ghost or the Body Language Coach or what that is, but basically it's this person that watches these videos and she teaches about body language and stuff and kind of breaks down psychologically what's going on if the person's biting their lip or rubbing their hands real tight or clenched in and stuff. And the mom is I would love to see a video on that channel about the mom, because she turned away her face every time that dad got excited about it, man. She turned her face away, and there was a kind of a tell-all statement that she made when she said, well, I don't know what Italian food has to do with Rocky. I was like, what? And I thought, so, but it gave a lot of information in one sentence, right? So you have her face and stuff, but him, I originally, with the idea and impression of what I'm dealing with, I felt badly for him, or that he was just messed up, and that this was one of those movies where you're watching somebody who's just messed up.
Yeah.
But the guy, it didn't take long before I realized this guy is actually a really nice-hearted guy. He seems actually like somebody, dude, I'd chill with him. I'd go to his thing, dude, and get pictures with him and show all my friends and be like, dude, check this out. I saw, and unquestionably, with all the other lookalikes they had, unquestionably the best one. Mm-hmm. I mean, he had a little bit of weight on him that, if it wasn't there, he'd look even more convincing. But the thing is that his face, his eyebrows, his smile, his cheeks, I'm like, bro is straight up doppelganging this thing. Like, he's for real. So anyway, first 10 minutes, I was down with it. I didn't have any problem. I like watching movies like that. The quality seemed good, and the people involved, it was a curious ragtag group of people in that family. So I felt this was going to be fun. Yeah.
So Armand, I got two questions for you. One was, what made you decide, other than just that you like documentaries, what made you decide to even say, can we do a documentary?
I had been following along you guys, obviously, from the beginning when you first started, and you and I had conversations before you even started the podcast about some of the things you want to do. So, and knowing you, I knew it was going to be, you probably have a lot of horror and stuff. So when you sent me a message and said, hey, do you want to be on an episode? It was kind of a knee jerk of, I don't want to do a horror movie. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what. And I had immediately thought of that movie. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to pitch you 3 documentaries. And I even said, if you want me to pick something else, I will. And that was kind of the thing, because I knew you hadn't done them before. And a lot of podcasts won't even really, won't touch them for whatever reason. And again, that's what I mostly watch. I mean, that's documentaries is mostly what I'm watching anyway.
Okay. As I was watching, and it got to a point where he was mailing out the book, and I guess we'll just go ahead and do spoilers. It's a documentary, but he was mailing out the book to Sly. And so I'm thinking, okay, here's the big hook right here, because we all want to see Sly get this and then have their meeting, have their beer on the couch together. And I was a little, despite what happens at the end, as credits roll, I was a little disappointed that things didn't come full circle and that we watched that happen. Mm-hmm. And I think and I was kind of expecting it to happen, because I think a lot of the documentaries I've seen recently, they are done over several years' time. Like some of the ones that Netflix has, like The Confession Killer, or the Ted Bundy one, I can't remember what it's called, or Don't F with Cats. These are gone over time, and they're almost like these episodic cliffhanging documentary style. Very unlike anything that I'd ever seen. So I've been kind of spoiled too with.
Right. There's usually that last 10 minutes or last 15-minute part to them where they've done all these things, and inevitably they fail if they're trying to meet a certain person or whatever, and it fails, and then it's kind of like the addendum on the end of the video where they do that. And I think they did it in this one, but just really the two of them hanging out rather than, Sylvester Stallone talking about the book or him opening the package or any of those things, which you're right, we kind of get spoiled about because we've seen that. Did you ever see Mission to Lars? That's another really good documentary.
I was thinking about that because I haven't seen it, but I'm assuming he got to meet Lars. It's
again, spoiler. He meets him, but there's a lot of those false starts to it. So the guy, the kid who wants to meet it is highly autistic. Yeah. And so you can't have changes or anything. So when his sister tries to help him to meet Lars, there's a lot of, emotional problems and everything. And you get almost to the end, you're like, oh, I don't think this is going to happen. It's kind of the same thing. And it's that traditional that we're all used to. I guess we're all spoiled in a documentary where you get to that, the end of the second act. It's kind of like anything else. It's a book. You don't think it's going to happen. And inevitably it happens. I think with The Pretender, we get all the way to the end of, while it's a great story and everything, I also looked at it the same way as you did, Chad. And I was like, well, I want to see those two hanging out,
I liked it better this way. So I'll be the standalone on this one. And I'll explain that, as I'm watching it, I anticipated that. Like, I anticipated what you guys are talking about, that, because he was specific, sitting on a couch, drinking a beer or whatever, talking with Sly, and, a picture with him and, his book and stuff and all this. And so because I just anticipated that because this was so serious of a film, I mean, this is not a joke. They're traveling around with them, talking to different people, and it was put together really nicely. And because he won the lookalike, I figured that Sylvester Stallone's got to be aware of that kind of stuff and a documentary being done about it. So maybe they worked with him, and then in the end, it was going to be like, yay. And it gets to the end, and I was actually hurt for him. I was like, oh my gosh, like it was another one of these things that he just didn't quite make it. And then it starts rolling the credits, and then all of a sudden, man, that picture pops up of Sylvester Stallone reading that book, and all the family, every member went, oh, like this, and everybody had that moment because we all just gave up hope. It was like, it's over. And all of a sudden that happened. And then we thought it was that was it. It was like, oh, well, dude, okay, that's so awesome. He wanted a picture of him, and he stated that too, that he wanted a picture of him holding the book. But then all of a sudden, it's them talking. And I thought it was cool because what Sylvester Stallone says, he's dealing with a guy who, he's a gentle-hearted guy, real sincere, bizarre scenario. It's taken LARPing like to an extreme. It is. I'm not meaning to be mean about that. I'm being like, sometimes that happens. But if you're meeting somebody like that, you have like two roads you can go down. You can go down this guy's road, or you've got Stan from that Eminem song, right? That's like, bro, this guy's not Stan. Okay. This guy is like not in that crazy world with that. And so, but Sylvester Stallone had to know, and I feel bad saying Sylvester had to know. I don't know him on a first name basis. So Stallone had to know, kind of what this guy's going through. And the one thing that they brought out, and they probably talked about a lot more, but the thing that they brought out in the film was that he always remembers the credits, the people in the credits because without them, and it was kind of almost an encouraging thing that if a guy's trying to be like Stallone, and in his brain he's one guy, that Stallone tells him it's that one guy is based on a lot of these people. And I think that that's actually a healthy thing that he said to him, because in some ways he reminded me a little bit of Goose Wayne. And I don't know if you guys know who Goose Wayne is, but he's a guy who basically became Batman and was wearing a Batman costume everywhere. And when he wouldn't wear the costume, he had black circles around his eyes for whatever reason. So he has kind of that Goose Wayne dynamic, and it took PewDiePie making a video encouraging him to say, look, you're actually a good guy. You can take this, but also you can also be somebody bigger than Goose Wayne. Okay. And in that way, I think it was probably an encouraging word. And I'd be interested to know, man, what the guy in the movie, what his thoughts were after that about that specific line, and how that may have impacted.
It's funny you should say that, because after literally 5 minutes after I watched the movie, I went on Twitter and I found his Twitter account and the movie, the Pretender movie. And I basically tweeted out, I just saw this great documentary. Everybody needs to watch this. And they both, the filmmaker and Mike Kunich, both sent me a message and thanked me. And I immediately said, I want to have you on my podcast. I want to talk to you. So I had him on Armcast podcast, also here on Project Entertainment Network. I interviewed him, and I wish I had the episode number. I'm too lazy to get the episode number.
Yeah.
But I actually interviewed him, and not only is the interview was like, half an hour, 45 minutes, but I probably talked to him for almost 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things. I mean, basically, he's since met Sylvester Stallone, Sly. He's met him a bunch of times. He was when they were filming Creed, and I think Creed 2. He's hung out with him a bunch of different times, and they're talking about. They even talk about maybe this was before everything, coronavirus and everything. Doing a Rocky store in Philly together and doing different projects and stuff like that, and that was one of the things I think is it instilled in him. Sylvester Stallone, be yourself. I mean, this is great that you're doing all this stuff, but I think Sylvester genuinely liked Mike for Mike as well. So it's because it gets to that point, I'm sure, where it's got to drive the family crazy and everything else, that you're constantly
the mom.
Especially the mom. But, I mean, even the wife was a little bit like, hey, I want to watch something other than Rocky,
But she was also really encouraging. I don't want to ask vicariously, like you're, channeling him or anything. But I was kind of wondering, there's a scene in the film, and I wonder if he brought it up with you, because I'd love to talk to him about this. But at the end, it was really encouraging to see all of the new things that he'd done and how he was doing these things for children. There's a scene of him with a woman with special needs, right? Walking with her. And my brother has special needs. I grew up with a lot of people in that community, and so it's really close to my heart on that. Made me cry a little bit, actually. But there was a scene in the movie where part of me felt like, man, he's really taking this too far. But there was also a part of me that said he's actually onto something, and that is when he went back to the home, right? And he's in that area where he's talking about it, and there's a person who comes out and says, Rocky ain't done shit. Like, I've been here 24 years, and he's never done shit. He's, and it really messed with him badly. And he was really emotionally. And I thought, I wonder if one of the things that he does is to say, you know what, I'm doing all of these things. I want to do something that actually helps that specific area. I wonder. I don't know. It was something that was on my mind.
In the film, he's definitely really, I mean, he can't shake that. He's really hurt by that. Mm-hmm. You see him driving away, and he talked to his wife or whatever. I mean, you can see it. He just, not even that he's mad. I think he's just really upset that somebody would think that way,
I wondered if it's because his hero, that there is, it's easy to idolize, and you never really heard him say a negative thing. like that he's imperfect,
Right.
because it's idealized in his mind.
Yeah, you've never heard, you didn't hear him say, well, in one of his worst films, or maybe my favorite, or nothing. It's everything. He's Tango and Cash is the greatest movie ever.
Yeah.
Rocky is the greatest movie ever. I mean, it's just everything Sylvester Stallone has ever played is the greatest movie to this guy.
And this was something where it was somebody he doesn't know in the most iconic place.
Yeah.
That he would assume that this ideal figure in his brain would benefit, and his wife's even trying to kind of excuse it, like, well, that maybe that person hasn't lived here very long.
Right. Yeah.
It's just a possibility that Stallone hasn't really, that place is just kind of trash, to be honest. I mean, it may be just kind of a rough part of town, and that people who go there, that they don't feel as though they see it on TV and they're wondering, well, okay, it's iconic, people come here, but and so that was one of those things. It's almost like a balloon popping.
Yeah.
And a little bit, one of the many balloons he's got on, like a bunch of grapes, or one of those weird fetish films, like popping the balloons and stuff. And that was just one of the things, but it really stood out to me. And so I wondered, because that hit so close to home for him and really messed with him, if he's gone and done anything like, anyway, but it's fascinating. There's
not a whole lot to dissect it. When I got done watching the movie, I was like, how are we going to dissect this? Because, it's not like anything is left for interpretation. I mean, it's a documentary, so I'm a bit of a loss for words regarding my thoughts on it. But I think that the two things that I took away from it the most were, well, maybe three. First of all, the guy is a really, really nice guy, you can tell. He's got a great heart. Great heart. Yeah, it's bizarre that he has this obsession or whatever, but I like that he was able to never really, as strange as it was, and how much he fought just constantly being this way. I don't know how much money he makes doing what he does, like the tours and stuff, but continue to do that and find a niche for it, find like-minded people. I mean, he had a whole bus full of people, and I'm like, seriously, these people are that into Rocky that he found all these people like this? And
like, he told me before the pandemic and everything, he's booked for like a year or two out now.
See, that's great. That's great to hear.
Yeah, since the movie hit, I mean, he's booked pretty far out now. There's great interest in, obviously in the Rocky movies and all that to begin with, but then the added of this guy is Rocky. I mean, that's got to be that's got to be impressive right there.
Yeah, and what's so weird, and I just kept thinking about this over and over again, is it's almost like he was born to be obsessed, because the dude looks like Rocky, man.
And that was my thing too. Was like, if he was like, a 6'5" skinny blonde guy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing you can do to make yourself into Rocky. But I mean, even looking at, he got his obsession when he was 12. But if you look at him, at a young age, he had that same physique and that same type of build to begin with. I mean, there's some changes there, his hair and different things, and he learned the mannerisms. And this, when I interviewed him, when we talked before, he's very quiet, and he's still got that, Pennsylvania, New York accent. You can hear that Northeast accent. And then when we started, he was immediately like, "Yo, what's going on?" And he immediately jumped into character. But then as the interview goes, he's somewhere in between. So he's aware of, I'm doing the Rocky impersonation, but I'm also myself. But you wonder, watching the film and then talking to him, I wondered, where does Sly begin and Mike end? Because it's real easy when your whole life is based on that character. It's not like you're in a movie, you're an actor, and you even, some guys who get so completely into it. I mean, look at Jim Carrey when he did the, when he does his roles and he gets so deep into it, and he's Andy Kaufman for 6 months. But then you go on to something else. This guy's been doing this for like 25, 30 years now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Super dedicated. The other two things that I got out of it were, one was the lesson that his dad taught him at the wrestling match is just a super important lesson. I mean, just that small thing where he, when his dad said, if you don't do this now, you'll continue to do this type of thing and you'll give up in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to stick that out, and that's so true, man. I mean, that could have really shaped who he was, just that moment, because it's true. If you don't, just like facing a fear or something, if you don't, it could snowball. Then all of a sudden you lack the courage because you don't have that experience of feeling the worst that can happen and know that you lived through it. Like obviously it was trivial. It's just going to lose a wrestling match. But when you're in school, that kind of stuff is a big deal.
Yeah.
So, but just like falling in love and then getting your heart broken, the first time it happens, it's the end of the world and no one's felt as low as you have and that you'll never recover. And then the second time it happens, and Lord willing that doesn't happen, but it certainly did for me more than a couple times. But the second time, okay, this hurts like hell, but I got this. I'm gonna live through this. But having the same kind of thing, if you don't go through something like that, then you've got nothing to kind of let yourself know that you're going to be okay. And then the most important, to me, the most important thing, and the thing that I liked most about the movie was the relationship with his wife and how awesome that woman is, because she was just such a huge supporter. And every man has got to have someone like that. I have someone like that. I know you do, Armand, and Jeremiah, you too. And we talked a little bit about this, the importance of a good woman in our life when we were talking about Lansdale, when I told listeners that I would leave Jeremiah behind for a woman any day.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So, but I enjoyed seeing that, because I had seen a documentary recently called I think it might be on Shudder, but it's the one where all the people put all of their time and effort and money into creating a haunted house for Halloween time. Sometimes just turning their house into it, or building onto their house temporarily to have this haunted attraction. And some of these people are real weirdos. There was this one guy, and you could clearly tell it was affecting his marriage, like in a big way. His wife wasn't happy, and rightly so. You could tell, obviously, this guy is a great guy behind the scenes, or else his wife would not be that supportive and that tolerant. You could tell he probably treats her really well, and I love seeing stuff like that. I love seeing.
Well, and it goes both ways, because she's so supportive of him, and so did you get to see the Joe Lansdale, the documentary, The Popcorn King?
I'm in it, but I'm in the special features.
Right. So I watched it the other day, and it's one of those things where obviously he's not getting anywhere without his wife.
Right.
Basically saying, stay home for a couple months and basically launch this amazing career. Yeah. It could have easily been one of those things where she said, it's not about the money, it's about you not sitting on your butt while I'm at work all the time. So get out there and go do this. Yeah. And you see a lot of our peers in the writing community that have wives and husbands and spouses like that are, they hate that we're wasting time, or it's a hobby, or you could be doing something else. And we're all very lucky because we have somebody in our lives that are 100% supportive. It's not about, money. A lot of times I'll say to my wife, the only way this is going to work is if I run ads. And she says, run ads. Well, it'll cost me a couple $100. She's like, look at this long term. Do it that way. Oh, I need an audiobook, but it's $1,000. Spend the $1,000. Are we going to make that money later on? Then don't worry about it. Her thing is, if I'm having fun and I'm breaking even, and we don't have to sell the house or anything. And for me, thank God, she has a phenomenal career, and so it allows me a lot more room to maneuver and freedom. But I don't understand that. I still nickel and dime everything. In my mind, I don't want to spend $20. It's funny because I'll say to her, honey, can I buy a T-shirt? And she's like, yeah, why are you asking me? I'm like, well, it's like $25. And she's like, okay. But I'm still that mentality of, I don't, and I literally don't have any idea how much money we have in the bank or anything. I don't want to know. I'm creative, and she is so totally with the numbers and everything. That's what she does for a living. So it works out really well. But that's what you need. I mean, you need that person in your life who just understands you. I mean, within reason. You know, if you say, hey, I'm going to go and I want to build an ark in the yard, and because we're going to save all the animals on the planet, maybe you're a little nutty. Or you say, hey, I'm going to build a rocket ship on the roof, and then we're going to go to Mars. Maybe you have a problem, but for what we do, it's so easy to be able to just get up and not worry about that in the back of your mind of, oh, great, this is going to be a fight tonight, because instead of hanging out with her, I'm writing or I'm doing something else.
Mm-hmm. What you said about the T-shirt, man, I wish my wife was hearing this right now, because that conversation has been had so many times in here. That's just my mentality. It's, you know, she'll go out and she'll get whatever she wants and maybe nickel and dime us for a while. And then it's me, I'm just like, I can't count the times I've like saw a shirt or a record or something, put it in the cart, kind of teased myself, saw the shipping, and I was like, nah.
Yeah.
And then I'll go back, and then I'll be like, hey, hon, you know, there's this shirt, man. I like to get, what do you think? And she's like, well, get it. I don't care. And she's like, almost to the point where it's like unwise. Like if I were to say, but this audiobook I need is $1,000. Well, get it. You need it, right? Yeah. And I'm thinking, well, what about the bills? This might be a bad idea. Blah blah blah. So yeah, it's funny that you'd say that like that, because that's,
my wife always says, if we can't afford it, I'll just say no. Yeah, we can't afford that right now. Otherwise, you're fine. Mm-hmm. You know. Hey, for Jeremiah, real quick, totally off topic. We're talking about T-shirts. I know on a past episode you talked about you're a child of the '90s, and you mentioned Nirvana. I just want you to see I'm wearing my Nirvana shirt for you.
Oh yeah, man, dude. Yes.
I don't know if he gets it yet.
Yeah, no, he doesn't get it. He doesn't get it.
Dude, is that freaking Hanson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just watched Frank McCluskey's CI, dude, and Hanson's on there, man. Yeah,
I wear this shirt all the time.
Yes,
hardly anybody will say anything. I even had a girl who was wearing, who's at the house, who was wearing a Nirvana shirt, and she's like, "Oh, cool, we're both wearing Nirvana shirts." And I was like, "Really? Seriously?" Like I've had a couple of people that have laughed because they realize what the shirt is.
Yeah, I saw a picture of you wearing that probably a couple of years ago, and I saw it right away. I laughed.
I saw it once I enlarged the screen, man. I had it on the half screen, so I got this little itsy screen. I was squinting at it like this, and I saw it. I said, man, I don't know what that is, bro.
I did like your Jack Flag shirt from a few episodes ago too. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, did you hear that the guitarist made me take it down? Yeah, that's a fact. But I've got one, so that's okay.
You know, with this movie, man, you guys mentioned something about the lesson about the wrestling, and my kids, I love watching stuff with my kids. You know, they're pretty clever, pretty quick actually on a lot of this stuff. And they were like, because I've shown them Rocky and everything, not the whole movie, but they've seen all the previews. They've seen certain scenes of it.
Oh, they got to watch it.
Now they have to watch. Oh, now they want to watch it. But they figured out that they were kind of like, so is it kind of like our mottos of never give up and keep on smiling, right? The idea that no matter how hard, you just keep going and you have, to not quit. And it's my daughter. I mean, she's 10, man. And she was figuring this out. And she said, well, that's kind of what this guy is doing. Because it was the scene where he goes in and you feel badly for him, man, because he has a pretty cool little gig where he goes to that restaurant and it's the Stallone night, So he's in there and dude, he's nailing it. To be honest, even his hands, like the way that he moves his hands when he talks, I'm like, he is seriously like,
he was bombing. He was bombing big time.
Oh, you thought he was blowing it?
Oh yeah.
He was great, but I don't think they got it. I think at first he really wasn't. I mean, you can even see he's kind of sweating at one point too. He's kind of standing back.
That's why.
Well, no, I'm saying that the people, his delivery maybe, But when he was talking in the camera and it shows his body moving, I was like, that looks like Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, yeah.
He sounds like it. But there was an old dude, and maybe they emphasized it for the point of it. You know, you don't really know the order. Like, did it magically all of a sudden become super happy and powerful kind of thing?
Right.
You know, but at the same time, you know, there was an old guy sitting there just not down. And then he gets the one where he's like, so are you here for the food or Sylvester Stallone night? You should never ask that kind of question anyway. Right. I mean, it's just like, dude, bro, don't do this. And she said for the food, right to his face. And I thought, number one, that lady is a little bit of a douche. I mean, that's like the first thing. Like, she's really a jerk. I mean, even if she was there for the food, you got a camera on a guy. You have a guy legit trying to do it, putting on good makeup. He's out in the places doing it for this. Just play along, for crying out loud. But he rolled with it, dude. And he laughed and he goes, you know, at least you're honest, kind of thing, you know. And it was just, I sat there and I was like, dude, I'm proud of you, buddy. I'm proud of you. And in the way they interplayed it with the dad telling the story and all of that. And, you know, on a positive note about it, you know, because I've said something about the mom, and I hope he watches this, man. I hope he checks it out, you know, and everything. And I don't want to make it sound like his mom's, you know, not down with it. I think that the tell-all is the tell-all. I think that, you know, I'd be interested to hear if I'm wrong. But at the same time, I thought what was awesome was that at the very end of it, right, after everything had been said and done, that last line she says, she says something like, he's my son. And dude, every time she talked, man, her face would like turn and her lips would tighten, right? And you could tell, like, or she'd kind of wipe her lips or like move her fidget and stuff. And I'm like, oh man. And then all of a sudden, when it came to this, her face got right there and it lit up. You could see how she was tapping into that motherly love for her son. And I said, that's a woman who would die for her son. She may not get the Rocky stuff all the way. It may not be even her thing. And she might be like, well, I wish that he stuck with optometry or being a cop. I thought that was amazing. The guy was successful. He's a corporate dude, man. Yeah, he's corporate. So I mean, it's not like he's not talented. He's in fact multi-talented if you think about it. Mm-hmm. But that moment where she said that, I'm like, there's mom. That's mom. And she loves him to death. It's a weird story. You got to give it to her, right? She may not understand all of it, like the dad is in on it and stuff. But at the end of the day, she's proud of her son, and and I can only imagine that she's more proud than ever now because of all of the things he's done since, you know, that this all began, where he's doing these really cool projects for all different people. And it was inspiring, actually.
So what's your overall rating for then?
My overall rating, man, you know, you kill me with this, Chad. You kill me with it. Number one, you don't like my decimal system. That's the first thing. Number two, if I say like, hey man, that was an 8 or a 9, you're like, what kind of thing? And I'm like, bro, like compared to what? Like in the world of documentaries or just by itself? I may have a lot of 10s in my life, but I would say that it depends on what you're asking for. The story, dude, this is so unique. I don't know of any other story quite like this. I mean, you know, I guess people who do like air guitar and stuff, you know, with their mouth bass or whatever, you know, and all that, those people might have documentaries. There are documentaries of people who do the LARP stuff that really do take it seriously and keep the accent in everyday life.
Way too seriously.
Yeah, way too seriously. But this,
bronies.
Yeah, bronies, dude. Yeah. So this is like one of those things, you know, furries. But, you know, I would say that this is, because of the level of it where it's like it's super bizarre if you think about it, but it layers it with family. It gives the background of it. It shows, it has a positive message about doing what you love and fighting with all of your might and not quitting something you start, and ultimately to be yourself, even if it means being kind of like somebody else, you know, because there are people out there like that if you add all of that together, and the way, because I thought it was pretty masterful, the way that they laid it out. I think it was a very well put together film.
Yeah.
You know, I was not bored at all. There wasn't any part where I was like, well, I'm kind of wanted to turn this off. None of that. So, you know, I give it a 4.4. I'll do that because 4.4 is cooler than 4.3.
Okay.
Yeah. So what do you think about it, man? What would you give this film, Chad?
Well, when I saw the trailer, I was intrigued right away. I think it was the first trailer I watched for the 3 that Armand picked, and immediately I was like, I wanted to see this one. I didn't realize that it was such a heartfelt thing and kind of a lesson learning thing, with kind of a happy ending in this journey. I thought it was going to be more exploitative, which it was not in any way. It was not. So, and that was kind of neat. It was kind of refreshing. That made it different than how I thought it was going to be originally. I like seeing both his brother and his dad be so encouraging and supportive, and particularly his wife. That was really nice to see. But based on my rating, I gave it a 3. I've got my own little thing right here. 3 for me is I might recommend it. It definitely has entertainment value. Oh, you're disappointed, Jeremiah?
I'm disappointed, dude.
Definitely
You let
has
me down.
entertainment
You let
value.
me down.
But the thing is, when I got done watching it, I was like, I'm going to give this a 2.75
Oh,
out of 5. But as we talked more, and I said out loud some of the things I liked about it, I upped it in a quarter of a star to 3. But again, back to the documentaries that I've been watching this last year or two, have just been mind-blowing, like the best documentaries I've ever seen in my life. And they're like, 6-episode deals. This is just shy of an hour. But I'm glad we got a chance to watch it. I thought it was unique that we were able to watch this.
So what did you think there, Armand?
Well, obviously, I loved it because I picked it. I'm going to give it and I've seen a ton of documentaries. I'm going to give it a solid 4.7.
Yeah.
And I look at it as I liked it enough to immediately jump on Twitter and tweet it out, which I don't do all the time, and actually to start talking to the guy, Mike, who starred in it. And, one thing led to another, and
awesome.
we actually talked. So, I liked it a lot.
Jeremiah,
I agree, man.
Was there any, legit lesson that you walked, you're like, man, this movie really helped me in this certain area after I watched it?
It's funny because normally, I'm kind of grasping for these lessons, and trying to really dig deep. And this one just had so many lessons popping out, that never give up and keep on smiling, do what you love. There's so many of these kind of things, about life, and giving it everything you got, even if it hurts, man. But there was a lesson I was gonna use it because there's a part in there where he talks about a perm with his hair. But the thing is I did that before with mine, and it's so embarrassing that I decided, nope, I ain't doing that. I said, because I don't want to have to show a picture. It's bad, dude. And my mom, she used a curling iron one time. I wanted to have I kind of had a little bit of a mullet, right? Like it's a hullet, like a half mullet or whatever they call it. And so I wanted to make it curly, like a lot of the guys I saw on TV and stuff that had it. And my mom, I was going out with my grandma to this, I don't know where we went, to Bill Knapp's or something to eat food. Dude, my mom's like, I was so sad because I couldn't get it done. And she used a curler, and that was terrible, and the only other experience I kind of had like that is when I learned that I couldn't have a kid and play haircut. I really wanted one badly. And that's not a joke. I'm being dead serious about it. And I cried, dude. I was really young, and I was just insistent that I wanted a haircut like that. And I was even thinking, well, maybe I can get like a cardboard cutout and, make it that way and wear it to school. And I'm glad that never happened. That would be.
You would look like old Kid Rock. Remember Kid Rock had that when he first started out? He had that hair like that.
Oh my gosh. And I'm just like, well, and they're like, you have really thin hair, buddy. And, it's not going to work. But no, but the lesson really was this, man, is that in life, there are certain reasons and certain places, that, you may be in a destination, you find something to kind of go out of the way, and you go, for example, like the tall dinosaur thing in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, that kind of thing, or the largest ball of twine, getting off the road. But there is really no reason to go to Ohio. And so that would be that's my lesson is Ohio sucks. There's no reason representing, baby. And no reason to go to Ohio. If you got to pick, go check out that ball of twine. So what was your lesson there, man? If you could take anything, right, and process it, do all the mathematics that you do and all the kind of discernment that you've got going on in the brain and in the heart with this, what's the lesson, dude, that you would take away from this movie?
For sure, man. If I ever, were to find myself, and it could happen, I don't know. If I were to ever find myself losing a wrestling match, I will definitely go back into that kiddie pool filled with Jello or mud or whatever it is, and I will finish that wrestling match.
Come down here to Florida, Daytona, and Jello wrestling, and me and Jeremiah are gonna be right there going, get back in there.
Yeah.
You can beat that biker chick. Get back in that vat of Jello.
I appreciate the encouragement, you guys. I think I can.
We're keeping you accountable, buddy. Keeping you accountable. Yeah. Dude, it's been tons of fun, man. It's been awesome to get to speak with you, meet this way, right? Maybe one day meet face to face. I want to see that glorious facial hair you've got, man. It's legendary. And but it's just been really cool and get really cool to become more familiar with your work. I'm really excited, dude, to read what you've got, especially the one about the baseball, man. I'm super pumped, and I'm really pumped. I want to see that room dedicated to it, man. I'll share some pictures with you of some of the baseball cards and things that I've got. And but it was really cool, man. And not only that, but it was such a cool documentary, right? Definitely better than a 3. But it was really cool documentary. And so I encourage people. I'm excited to go back. I'll scroll through your podcast and find that to check it out. And I really, I'll go on Twitter and even tweet to this guy because it was really cool. So it's been a pleasure to speak with you. And if there's, anything you'd like to say, any specific website that people can go to, any project that they can look into at the moment, we'll give you a couple minutes here to just let them know.
The easiest way to find me is ArmandRosamilia.com. And I'm very active on Twitter, Armand Author. I'm on Instagram as Project Entertainment Network. If you go to projectentertainmentnetwork.com, you will find this podcast as well as 30 more other great podcasts, including my 2 podcasts. And those are I'm on Facebook, author Armand Rosamilia, and somebody created an Armand Rosamilia fan club. On Twitter, on Facebook that I pop in all the time, and I'll drop stuff in there and everything. And always writing, always podcasting, always trying to get something new out there. But it was awesome talking to you and meeting you. We will definitely have to talk more baseball together. And as always, Chad, it is an honor to hang out with you and see you again.
Definitely, man. Yeah, and this is the first time that we actually got to real life, but yeah,
we've talked a bunch of times. But yeah.
And you and Chuck need to double down on your Mondo Method episodes so I can not go through them so fast.
We're trying. I mean, there's 200 plus up there. I mean, we're going as fast. There's some back catalog I still can go through for sure. There's something about listening to the new. It's with certain podcasts that I enjoy, but I have gone way back. And well, it's funny after doing it for I think we're on our 4th year now, and some of the stuff we talked about 4 years ago makes no sense now, or things have changed so much. I think we did an episode on Thunderclap. Do you remember Thunderclap?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Which doesn't. I think it exists as a pay site now, and there's another one. There's a couple of different ones, and they don't even exist anymore. So. It's funny how everything changes so quickly for us.
Yeah, in the publishing world for sure. Jeremiah, where can they find us at?
Oh, dude, they can find us all over the place, and it's super duper easy, man. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Just check out PaleoCheeze, and Acast, Project Entertainment Network. We have to actually put our new logo up because we have our new logo. It's on YouTube, I think, and on Twitter. Yeah, it's put on YouTube. Oh, dude, it's
shared it. I haven't officially shared it yet.
Dude, it's totally awesome. Yeah, it'll be shared by the time this podcast goes up. Yeah. And so you got to check it out. You got to like it. Original artwork, totally awesome. And it'll make everybody laugh. I mean, people will still make our awesome memes because we have a fun time with those. It's always kind of the same faces with the aviator glasses and stuff, you know, and the goofy faces. We always like doing that, but we needed to kind of have our own little logo, you know, our own symbol and picture. And so we commissioned an artist to do that. And we love what we got. So they can do all of that. And of course, email us. Make sure to email us at PaleoCheeze@gmail.com, and PaleoCheeze with a Z. Okay, because you put that in search engines, man, they're pretty dumb. The algorithm hasn't figured it out yet. And so it's always like you look it up and they're like, here's a cheese recipe for the paleo diet. And you're like, dude, nobody cares. Nobody cares. They're all looking for us. So just change it right now, immediately. And so
plus you guys have given me that great 30-second ad spot. So you can hear that on 30 other podcasts as well, which is good.
Oh, a chainsaw to the heart, Armand. No, it's true. It's true. We will get this, man. We've talked about it. We talked about it this past week. We talked about to be frank,
seconds, Jeremiah. I mean,
30 seconds.
I'm not asking for like a 5-hour thing. It's 30 seconds.
I think what's taking us so long is we were trying to get creative.
Yeah. And now we're just going to use this. We're just going to use this 30 seconds. This is it. PaleoCheeze. This is all of it. Thanks for listening. All right, man. Well, I hope you have a really good night, both of you. It's been a ton of fun. Can't wait to come back for another fantastic episode. PaleoCheeze.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? My name is Duncan, and I'm the host of the podcast Hash Time with Duncan. On this show, I tackle all the biggest sports stories between the hashes and beyond. If it's a big story, I'm going to talk about it and give you my opinion on it. Subscribe to my show wherever you get your podcast. All you have to do, search Hash Time with Duncan. And you can follow the show on Twitter at Hash Time with D. Peace.